Good evening, councillors all, officers all. Welcome to the Finance and General Purposes meeting, Monday 29th of April. Reminder to us all, please, this meeting is being recorded for publication on the Thatcham Town Council YouTube channel. Apologies for absence, Madam Clerk.
Apologies received from councillors Jeremy Cottam and Ian Cottingham, and councillor Dave Lunn and councillor Stephanie Stevenson appointed as substitutes.
Thank you both for substituting. Any declarations of interest on any items on the agenda? No, thank you. Minutes of the meeting on 22nd of January. Are there any queries, questions, suggested amendments to aforesaid minutes? Not seeing anyone, I would therefore propose from the chair that we accept them as a true record of the meeting. If that finds a seconder, thank you, Councillor Jeffrey. Those in favour, please. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, any matters arising from the minutes not covered by the agenda from your end?
Brief update, Chairman. In the minutes, item 4, the water pipe spare repair. There was a couple of requests from the last meeting. I have chased responses from the Memorial Foundation, but still haven't received yet. So I will bring them back before the meeting when received.
Okay, thank you. Any other matters arising from any members of the committee? No, thank you. Item 4, getting into the meeting stuff. The figures that we have, the pack of figures that we have in front of us are the figures for the full year, but there are still some year-end adjustments that will be required and some environments over that may be decided to go to earmarked reserves. I'm aware that the councillors have a strategy day or a couple of hours where a lot of these things will be discussed to fit in with the council's objectives for the next year. So apart from one or two small items, I wouldn't suggest we do any environments today, but we would come to that under item G. What I would suggest that we do is go through these, Madam Clerk, if there is anything on any of the sections that you have to report before we start, then please do as we go through, unless there's anything general you can make now.
No, Chairman, I think all things have been previously explained, so nothing since the last meeting.
Please, though, members, shout if there's anything that is unclear, especially those for whom this is their first finance meeting. There are no stupid questions, because believe you me, we've all asked them at some point in time in our careers as councillors. So if there's anything that isn't clear as I rattle through, or you want me to slow down or whatever, please shout, and that goes for everyone as well. Right, what I'll do is I will go through section by section. So, for example, on page 1, we have section 100, which is staff, section 101, which is corporate management. So I will go through section by section and for any queries to be raised there. Staffing, budget 387, expenditure 384805. Any queries on that one, or any explanations from Madam Clerk? No. Thank you. Corporate management, which is basically the precept plus any interest, as we're aware this year. The interest we received is substantially higher in line with market interest rates than it has been in previous years. So we do have a fortuitous bonus coming to the council from that element. Again, any queries? No, thank you. Democratic representation and management, section 102. Anything there? I mean,
Chairman, I know I ought to know what actually is ticking on 1956 that we got on under Democratic Republic 101.6.
oh, sorry,
Sorry,
I'm going deaf in my old age, unfortunately.
1016. There's the Democratic Republic representation management.
Oh yeah,
Ticket income. What was that for?
that's previous year, of course. So that's apologies. I should have done my usual reminder. This form is in 3 sections going across the page. So you will have a section to the left hand of the first top to bottom line, which is last year's, as in 2022-23 budget and actuals. This year is the one that we are primarily focusing on tonight. That section is the budget for the year which has just ended, ended on March 31st of this year, and the 2024-25 is the budget for next year, which has already been set. That's the budget that was set in January of this year. So any questions on section 102? No, thank you. Go on to section 107. Grants. The grants have not fully been allocated this year. We'll come down to one element when we get to the baby garden, baby memorial, sorry, project. Grants committee kept £7,000 back for that purpose, but we'll come to that later. Other than that, Kennet Leisure Centre came in at £6,000 less. Stephanie.
Sorry, can I just ask why there's no election expenses this year? And we know we've just had an election. That's 4251. Actual year to date is 0.
Back on 102. We haven't been invoiced yet.
Haven't been invoiced yet. Thank you.
No, there will be. We do have an earmark reserve. Again, apologies if I'm teaching to suck eggs all the time. But we do have an earmark reserve that we put money away into every year for election expenses. So that £6,000 that is down the bottom is the amount that we are putting away. If we had a by-election every year, that would kind of get swallowed up, and we wouldn't have anything left for the main elections. So hopefully we won't get any more by-elections.
You're not advocating that everybody should sort of sit still in their seats.
And avoid going under double-decker buses. You would kind. Tragedy for you, tragedy for the council, but the finances would be awful. So please don't. No, stay healthy, chaps. So grants. Anything else on grants? Detached youth work. You may recall that this contract was stopped, was not renewed. because of issues with non-delivery of that contract. So that is another bonus that we have this year in terms of that contract not being renewed and therefore the expenditure not having taken place. There's no questions on that. Move on to the massive 111 street and footpath lighting. I'm presuming no questions on that one. Street furniture 112. Again, any question on that one? CCTV. There will, I think I'm right in saying, Madam Clerk, be some expenditure coming up on CCTV. Is that the one where it's, some of them are reaching the end of their useful life?
Yes.
So there will need to be some expenditures on that in due course if we are to keep the CCTV, which I would strongly suggest we do, because the police find it very, very valuable. If there's no questions on that, move on to public conveniences. Section 114. There are no questions on that one.
If I may, not a question, but just a comment. It is not an inconsiderable sum. I think it is money that is well the spending in Thatcham to, in every sense, keep us on the map. The fact that somebody knows that if I go to Thatcham, there's a public convenience there. I think it counts for a lot.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's one of the best things we did when we were offered the opportunity to from West Berkshire to pay for those. I think that's certainly money was well spent. Thatcham Markets. Any queries on those? Oh, yeah.
No query, but I'm going to just add something on. A member of the public said to me that they loved the French market last Saturday. I wasn't even in Thatcham, but they said it was smashing to have it. But did they say there were only 4 stalls there in total? And the comment that was made to me by this Thatcham resident was, would have been better if it had been tagged on to the Friday market, so that it gave both of them a bit more of a boost. And that's a comment to be taken aboard, and people can think about it, and decide what they want to do going forward. But that was just, it was really nice. They deliberately went to it, enjoyed it, but it was a bit limited in terms of the number of actual stalls there.
Mr. Mayor, you're looking quizzical.
Well, it was rather more than 4 stalls, and I
Maybe they went wrong.
I think there was quite a nice buzz, and I think, you know, it's a feature market in the sense that, you know, we try to do something a bit different on weekends that will get more of a family audience than the Friday market. So there may be advantages to running it on the Friday, but I thought it worked really well on the Saturday.
Well, any French market that has wine, bread,
And
cheese, olives, and tartiflette gets my vote every time.
Stop it, because I'm gutted that we weren't back in time. That I understand.
You probably saved a fortune. I spent 31 quid on cheese. That's my fault for liking Conte. Any other comments on the financials on the market?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
I noticed that our income, our year-to-date income was down slightly on the projections. Is that due to some pitches? My second question is, you know, far be it from me to sort of make life any more difficult for our traders, It's the last time we had a review of the store fees. I know we're not struggling for money, but similarly, inflation's been very, very high in recent years, and I just wonder, what the thinking is around that.
Clark?
There has been a slight reduction in the income because we lost one of our regular traders, the flower stall. He gave up trading, so that was, he was there every week, so that we are still trying to find a replacement. And the fees are reviewed annually by this committee, so at the January meeting, all our fees and charges are agreed for the year that begins then in April.
So it's a conversation you must have had back in January then.
Yeah, I think we raised by 5% or something.
I have a feeling that's right, yes.
10%, calls were 5% and all other services.
Oh, yes, it was 10, yes. Thank you. There's no other questions on the Thatcham market. We are now on page 6. Welcome Back Fund is something that was last year's, nothing in this year's. Thatcham Festival, great to see ticket income and sponsorship income substantially above budget, and the overall net cost by the time you added the staff cost back in was just marginally below the net budgeted figure. Any questions on Thatcham Festival? No. Moving on to Christmas. Again, sponsorship income slightly above. And again, adding back the staff salary allocation. The figure there, 24 again, below the net figure below the budget. Not cost below the budget. Any questions on the Christmas event? Sorry.
Observation. I think that I know a couple of members of this committee will already be aware that I think that we are probably going to manage to coordinate the mayor's switching on of the Christmas lights with the lights going on in Kingston. Same, both in linked together. I think that we're going to get there this year.
Oh, excellent. That's only taken us about 25 years.
Yes.
To get that coordination. Excellent. Oh, well. Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. I know. I mean, there's worked very hard on building relationship with the new guys who own the Kingsland Centre, and that's things obviously borne fruit. So well done, sir. Right, now on to page 9, Remembrance Day. Events, sorry, Jane, marginally under budget. United Service of Remembrance, if there's no questions on Remembrance Day, sorry. United Service of Remembrance. Again, slightly under budget overall. Any questions on USR? Thank you. Now on to page 10. Big chunky one. Family Fun Day. Again, marginally up in terms of stallholder fees, etc. Stephanie.
It's on line 1077. Who did we receive grants from?
Freedom Trust.
Freedom Common Trust. For anything specific?
The new
platforms.
introducing platforms, so performances by to give I suppose awareness to local musicians and
Very much.
Any other questions on Monday? Again, by the time you've added the 20,242 staff costs on, again, Sunday was under budget as well. Kids Fest obviously is next year's, with Councillor Lunn bracket J, close bracket, very heavily involved in that one, which is excellent. And the special event, every time I ask you, Madam Clerk, what was the special event? Every time you tell me, and you're very patient, can you be patient again, please?
Coronation.
Oh, coronation, that was it.
And then next year it's the Rural Tour. I always get that wrong. Rural Touring Theatre.
Yeah.
The figures for next year.
That was. That concludes the events. I think thanks have to go to John Sackett, our events manager, and of course our esteemed mayor who chairs the events committee, for bringing every event in the last financial year in under budget. So that's all contributions very gratefully received.
All right, then I'll take the credit.
Stephanie.
Can I ask about line 4070? In that, we agreed £7,500 and spent zero.
The 7,500 was, I think, the budget, and then the amounts are split out. I believe I'm right in saying, Madam Clerk, into the individual lines. So there was an overall budget given of 7,500, and then it was effectively split out. Right, chunky one, because it accounts for about a substantial proportion of our budget. Central services 190, down the bottom of page 12. I will spend a little bit more time on this one because it is the chunky one, and it's the one where we effectively demonstrate how efficient we are at sticking to a budget as an organisation. So please take the time to go through those, and please shout if there is anything that you wish to raise. I will raise one. Overtime was slightly in excess of budget, line 4004, Madam Clerk. Is that a recognition of the basically shortage of staff we've had this year?
Shall we find that?
Yeah.
4003, key holding leaving. Sorry, I beg your pardon. No, we've come in just about almost spot on, haven't we?
Can I just ask with regards to 4014, 4015 gas and electricity? Is that because some of our services are underused? We budgeted more, expected them to be used more?
We budgeted, anticipating costs to go up because obviously energy has cost them a lot more. But some of the contracts were on fixed contracts. So it will be financial year we're just going into where we'll see the effect of that.
And frankly, the winter was slightly milder, if wetter, this year, which always helps in those lands.
Was it better, Chairman?
A pond with one garden for most of the year.
Chairman, if I may, I just comment on 4025 insurance, which has done a wonderful leap. And all I can say is, having had insurance on my car and my house brought to me, I think we've done quite well there. I think the insurance premiums have just gone, they've gone through the roof.
Yes. Overall, oh, sorry.
Sorry, just one clarification on 4060 professional fees.
Oh, yeah. We have had some substantial fees that we've had to pay this year, Madam Clerk.
So that includes the survey of St Mary's Church Wall, the staff review, and we've had some solicitors' fees as well. The new, what was it?
Lease.
There's a couple of leases that have been looked at this year.
Thank you.
So overall, if one looks at the net income over expenditure, which is 83,397 down the bottom of page 14 for central services. Add to that the staff cost element that relates to central services, and for those, again, apologies if I'm teaching you to suck eggs. What we've always done, and I know the new leader wants to look at how we do it, how we do this. What we've always done is taken a very broad brush estimate of how much total time multiplied by salary is taken on certain of our activities. And there is Miri has prepared an overall there of how much we spend on each element, which we'll go through in a second. But we basically allocate a rough amount of staff time, which then has to be added to the expenditures. If you do that, we had a net budget of 261,631. We actually came in at 266,310, which, bearing in mind that we did have the professional fees, St Mary's Wall, which were unexpected, which I believe are about 10,000. We are about 5,000 in excess of budget, or about 5,000 under budget, without that extraordinary expenditure. So I have to say thank you again to Town Clerk and to its officer for keeping a very close eye on that budget as well. That is the chunkiest one, and that's the one where which we, apart from the events perhaps, which needs very close control, very close monitoring. If there are no other questions on central services, we'll move on to the black arts, which are section 199, finance and general purposes, capital and projects. And here I will hand over to our esteemed officers, because this still mystifies me to a certain extent. So if you may possibly be able to guide us through what those figures are there for, I'd be really grateful.
I'm happy to do that. So the actual year to date for F&GP capital and projects, the £9,000, that was for the IT upgrade of laptops. And there has been some transfer from the earmark reserves to help pay for that.
And the transfer to earmark reserve, the rolling
Oh, of the 12,000.
fund, that hasn't yet been done. That's another end of year adjustment, presumably. That will be done. We've got 12,000 budgeted.
Yes,
That will ultimately be done when we do the final year
absolutely.
wash up. Basically, again, we've had what we call a rolling capital fund. It's for the items of expenditure that are significant but unexpected, and therefore we've always put money aside for that. Now we have a conditions survey report on all of the council assets. Quite a lot of the unexpected expenditure will now be expected. And therefore that would go more into the planned maintenance. So that's something that we commissioned a year and a half ago, to find out exactly what we needed to spend over the years. And frankly, it came out at less than we were anticipating, which is always useful. I think really because we always have viewed the maintenance of our buildings as extremely important. So we don't tend to have horrendous bills like some of our buildings that we are aware of. There's some other questions on 199 F&GP capital projects. We have Birdwood Centre letting income, quite a chunk above budget this year. That I don't believe is fortuitous. I believe it is a lot of hard work from some of the officers and Dawn especially knows that.
Yes, indeed.
He really has pulled their socks out this year to get new people in.
Do we have regular varied lettings then?
I believe so. I don't get overly involved in the day-to-day of the halls, but I know that we've got another one coming this financial year as well, for school holidays. So we have preschool there during term time at the moment, and we're about to start with our holiday club as well. So should be up even further in the financial year we're just starting.
Thanks.
So on 201 on pages 15 and 16. Reactive maintenance. Clark 7,000 against 2,000 budget.
Yes, Chairman, that was the pooling water in front of the building that was approved by committee. That work's been carried out.
Again, even with that, we're pretty much on budget for that section. Flame Hutchins, as you may know that one hall at Flame Hutchins Hall, the smaller one, is permanently occupied by the West Berkshire Therapy Centre. And the other hall free for community lettings. So a lot of the income through Flame Hutchins Hall is underpinned by that permanent letting to the therapy centre. who, I have to say, provide exceptional service to our community and to the wider community. Not the age where I had to take advantage of it myself, but yeah.
That's one. Using something else. Right. What are the ones that are being made to me now? No. Right. Something.
Slightly worried now. No, definitely. No, we would very much wish to retain the therapy centre. For those of you that haven't seen what they do, it's a lot of it is rehabilitation, but they have machines, resistance machines, that are not modified, they're purpose built. For people who are getting mobility back in arms, legs, whatever's, where they can vary the resistance to suit people's journey on getting rehabilitated. So it's a fantastic service.
Application for the hydrogen.
Yeah.
Just one question, just to clarify. How much is the, to be actually in as a lease for this, annually? It's not just the 45, I assume.
No, that 45 will, or 47 will include an element of the other hall, the largest hall. Do we have any kind of breakdown?
Not, but I can tell you that I haven't got it on the top of my head.
Yes, it's just that if you know that's what you're annually getting, then you work out how much of the other parts you got, not result, just.
Yeah.
Well, would you know off the top of your head, if you know, like it's 30,000 a year or something now? Yeah.
I think it's like 16,000 in that region.
And that's a long term lease.
It's only a license at the moment.
How long's the license?
It's rolling at the moment. If and when the hydro work goes ahead, then it will become a lease. But at the moment, it's just on a license.
And that's about 16.
That's 16, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's about that.
Any other questions on questions? Tourism Old Vinford School, that's purely simply a nominal rent. It was paid to us. To help the work of the trustees of the hall, and then we paid an element to Graham's renters for that one. If there's no questions on that one, Moore's Workshop, 205, and now on page 18. That is now on part of the workshop. There is now on a lease. Rather than again a license arrangement. We also, I think, main partner has an element of that storage still, do we do indeed, yes. So it's a facility that we use as well. No questions on that one. I'll move on to the Miller's Pavilion and kitchens. Which one down this year? I seem to remember that was almost seems ridiculous to say now, but it was too dry, and I believe when the football season started to use the pitch.
It is something, Chairman, that we're going to look at because it is steadily reducing year on year. So we're going to have a look at that. Other questions on the minutes? 206. Priory 207. Page 2, page 20.
this for, again, for, those members who don't know, this is a building that the council owns, which was, originally going to be, for relocation of the council offices and, for, rental, out of various of the other rooms which were surplus space, very much came out of the Thatcham vision from 2 years ago, Stephanie, you were chairman of same.
Ten. Murray work Spain and the vision.
Oh, yes, of course, yes, you got the job that Owen didn't give me. Yeah, so it was then council under a different hue. Decided that wasn't going to be the case and actually left it out. So Stephanie.
I think that the meeting, and I do know the being recorded, previous administration, first of all, tried to sell it to a friend, and it was only when the cost mounted for that friend that they withdrew their offer or something, and so we nearly lost that to a private house owner on a previous administration of this council.
So anyway, we are now in a position where the loans on the bar are coming down now quite substantially, about £35,000 a year. We're regularly on about 47,000, so it's paying for more than paying for the interest and paying for an element of capital. Sorry, apologies.
I know it's right. I'm sure I've asked this question before, but it's something that's kind of coming into sharp focus with higher interest rates now. It seems to be becoming more embedded. Could you maybe confirm what the terms of the existing finance is? I'm assuming it's fixed rates.
Yep.
Is that coming up for renewal?
It's a 25-year. Yeah, it's a 25-year. Sorry, 25-year fixed rate. One loan, I think, is something like 4%. The other two loans are 2 point something or other. But it's fixed rate capital and interest, so we are paying the capital as well. But certainly low rates as of now, and when the loans were taken out, the commercial rates were a lot higher than the rate that we got. We got it through what was called the public works loan board. Now they've renamed the public works loan board now, but it's essentially it was lending to councils. So we are secured on that, and we don't have to make a provision for the payment of the loan in 25 years' time. It will have gone because the capital will have been repaid by then. So obviously the element of capital that we are repaying is going up year on year because the interest element is coming down because the loan is coming down. And I think the first of those loans, we are probably now a lot more than halfway through. This the first one must have been taken out somewhere like 2009. So we're about 15 years into the 25-year mortgage now. So it's still a way to go, but the equity in that is increasing quite substantially. Resolutions 212. Are we actually? I can't believe we only paid £7,000 to West Berkshire for. Is this another year-end adjustment that needs to be?
We haven't had the final year-end invoice yet, but we've had notification that our contribution is significantly down this year. It was 17,000, wasn't it?
And so the reason that account is only looking at 10,000 is because we had an accrual reversal from last year of minus 10,000. And so that is what it's going to say as at year end. Because we've accrued for the right amount of 17,000 for the year.
Right. So if that is 17, that is substantially lower than it has been previous years.
Yeah,
Tom?
that was one of my biggest questions this evening is like, have they made a mistake?
Luckily not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And therefore, does that mean not just this year, but our budget for next year is likely to reflect the same? Or what's the reason for it dropping down?
Yeah, I think certainly the budget for next year we've got is 40.
Exactly.
Now that may prove to be too large. It has varied a lot, and it's always been fairly consistently up around the £40,000 mark. So this year is probably a bit of a. I'd like to know why.
Bear with me.
Because especially if it's going to reoccur, then hallelujah. But
Okay.
We could reseed the whole place, stuff like that, reinvest it.
This is because the current contract for Hennick is less expensive each year. Also, the introduction of pitch booking system and online payments mean that more income doesn't miss the end of year and is correctly recorded in the year of the transaction.
So I suppose that's saying that this year we've got a timing difference because they've been implemented a new system. And next year we will not see that benefit. So this year maybe we have, I don't know, 12, 14 months income showing.
yeah,
And next year we'll have 12 months.
I'd just love to, not the greatest question in the world, but I would love to know if they have a quantity, a figure that they can put on that carried forward into this year, that timing difference which has worked in our favour this year. Because if it's if that was
It just means
13,000, then that's
last year's benefit that we've only just received.
yeah.
And the grounds maintenance contract has been renegotiated, so.
Just confirm then, because I'm not as clear as I would like to be. Perhaps it's maybe a different case.
Well, so if we can find out
Yeah.
what that endowment effect of having a new booking system and therefore the fees being collected faster was just to see what effect that could have on this current year's budget.
Does that mean that we will be £22,000 underspent on that budget? So that goes into the end of the year.
I have to say it's another fortuitous. We've actually had quite a few totally fortuitous this year, which is all well done. Totally, yeah.
I'll go to each year.
Absolutely not. 224 Heritage. It's the Heritage Working Party, primarily the blue plaques. That we do one per year. Picture it, don't have one yet. There was something we can find out in the picture. Thatcham Cemetery. Sorry, there's no questions on heritage. Heritage.
Single seat.
Two seconds.
I'll get a copy for that.
You certainly can't get another cake that this goes with. Waiting. Thatcham Cemetery, talking about fortuitous. In this case, one that we really want to see higher than budget in terms of income, but such is life, or not. Okay.
So I want to know, but what is the art of doing to?
Right at the beginning.
Very. Oh, that's right, right to bury it. £6,000 more.
Yes, it has been, this year has been odd. Thatcham Cemetery, the income from Thatcham Cemetery has been declining year on year on year ever since I can remember. To the extent that quite often with the budget, we've been kind of chasing the figure down, and therefore we've not actually had as much income as we've budgeted. This year, for some reason, the actual burial fees are slightly higher. The right of burial fee, as you say, is substantially higher.
Is that someone gaining the right to allocate the space? So should you and I be booking a space?
Yes, yes. Certainly, if you wish to spend eternity next to Councillor Jeffrey, then certainly you should both be booking your spaces now. I can think of no better place to spend eternity. In terms of the expenditures, we had rates came in a couple of years ago, and it probably always increased slightly that we pay rates on the cemetery, but it is. But this they've reduced them this year. Any other queries on Thatcham Cemetery section? So the overall there is quite substantially less of a deficit than we would normally see. St Mary's Churchyard, it being a closed churchyard, responsibility of that comes to the parish, which is the reason we had the wall survey done, which we'll find out a little bit more later. If there's some other queries on St Mary's Churchyard, we have allotments. Been just overall slightly under budget. Play areas, these are the playgrounds. We have 12, well, I've got the figure right this time, I want to say 13. Each one 12 of. The insurance claims went up. Can you just do this on when we can claim, when we can't claim, what the cities, etc.
Unfortunately, Chairman, there's some news coming before the next meeting of committee on this. They have undertaken a review of our policy because we've submitted several claims recently, and therefore they have made changes to the excess. At the moment, it's £250. Excess will be going for malicious damage will be going up to £2,500. And the policy, the cost of the policy will also be going up by 20%, at least 20%. So when our finance manager has the time, she will be undertaking other quotes. But at the moment, so the figure there on insurance claims, that's excess on the claims that we have made.
Thank you.
It's all works very well if we don't make any claims. Yes.
Insurance always does, Tom.
Yeah, that's why we have insurance. So when things happen, and then I suppose it'd be the same thing when people have crashes in your car, eventually they'll go, oh, cleansing doesn't quite work with that. So that's understandable. Would you be able to refresh numbers? Do we have one insurance for this
I think we have multiple insurances across the council for multiple things.
We have one insurer, insurance, across the council. And it was on a 3-year agreement, of which we are 2 years in. So they've chosen to break the agreement, and we can either sign up to their new 1-year terms, or we can go elsewhere.
And just to review the venture, is that one insurer for all the public works liability, public liability?
Yes.
It's just one big pot for everything we do. And roughly what do we spend in a year? Just
9,000 is reckoned the 190, yeah,
where's it? Where's
about £9,000.
so it's on the
190, yeah, on page 13. It's 9,875.
it's 13,000 back to the top page.
Page 13 is the last line at the bottom.
Got you. Right. And that's for everything we do. That's Berkshire. And then that's where it comes out at that end. Thank you.
Chair.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that, council officers have checked the insurer's ability to sort of unilaterally pull out the contract 2/3 of the way through. Can they do that?
This information is brand new. The email was received this morning.
Yeah.
So I will be checking the contract.
Yeah.
Because yes, it does seem a little unusual. I'm fairly confident that they'll have a very small clause in there somewhere to allow them to do it. But I will be checking them.
And then when through the chair, once we have a response back, is there the option to kind of discuss that further and check that as in we're not just going to take what they're saying at face value?
I think it's always good to try, isn't it? Get a better rate, especially if we've got quotes from other insurers.
And that could be based on what we paying for, so they would ask for almost like a replica. Last year's would be, you'd have thought that'd be reasonable practice, wouldn't it? So, okay, that'd be great, thank you. What's this one?
There we go, sure. Oh, yes, play areas. So this is definitely more on play areas. Open spaces, which is basically all of our bits of greenery, I guess, around and covered by play area. I'm presuming this also includes things like does this include the malls, grass cutting, etc. This particular one. Any theories on open spaces 261, which is primarily on page 24. Again, slightly under budget. The finance maintenance contract, we did have a interesting scenario last year when it actually went up by 13% because it was linked, as most commercial contracts are, to RPI, not CPI, a different measure of inflation. So RPI was higher than CPI. Total fields, again, for those of you who don't know, the council is sole trustee for the Total Fields charity. That includes what is now the sensory garden outside the council offices here and the Moors playing field. There is an income that is generated for that, from that endowment income, but essentially we put the expenditures through our books and then tend to use the field surplus for improvements for the pieces of land that the charity owns. And then RNA capital projects, this is another one of these black art ones. It's basically everything that kind of get balanced out. I don't know whether you take us through some of these.
Okay, so this is an area where anything that we are going to spend from reserves will code to cost centre 299, anything for capital and projects. So if you look at the 17,000 on play equipment, I think that was a rollover from the accessible play equipment from the last financial year. Work on the Broadway Green that was funded from reserves. But all of these items will be somewhere on the reserves spreadsheet. So 2583, let's see if I can. It might be a handful. So yes, it'll be minor capital projects that have been spent, the funds have been taken from reserves. And again, spending from the workshop, but all of the values that are on there, you will see split out in a different way on the reserves spreadsheet. So if you look for the additions from the year, you'll see everything that's actually incorporated into that cost centre. Does that make sense to everybody?
Page 28, 26, the overall expenditure for this year, 22-23, from earmarked reserves identified as 24,871. Was that the total of all earmarked reserves?
No.
That's what I thought, because as far as I was aware, we spent a lot more than that, but it's not come out as from earmarked reserves, if you see what.
Yes.
Is that more of an accountancy process rather than anything else?
Well, it's more of a cost centre process.
Right.
So 299 is R&A, capital and projects. If you go to 199, then that's FGP, capital and projects. And then throughout the year, there will be other elements, transfers to reserves throughout the whole of the accounts. So it's just one section that comes out. If anything's approved through the R&A budget from reserves, then it will come in here.
Yeah, it was more because I have asked the clerk at separate meetings to sort of try and get a feel for how much of earmarked reserves we're using, because
that is this spreadsheet here.
Yeah, this.
That is reserve spreadsheet. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And
that
that
gives you everything you need to know.
Yeah, and if you total that over, excluding the non-earmarked reserves funds, and there is without running through too much detail, are we saying that total figure from earmarked reserves this year was £187,000?
So the spend in the year, when you're on the spreadsheet, spend in the year was 36,425. So if you look on, if you go on the spreadsheet, spend in the year, go right the way to the bottom.
Yeah, got that. Right.
Oh, it's 39,517.
Yeah, that's the one below that.
Yes.
That would.
That's a subtotal.
Yeah, absolutely. That wouldn't include the IT equipment and stuff.
Yes, it does.
That includes all of that.
So, and you'll see the IT equipment coming out of account code 315.
Capital Bowling Fund.
but where it's 10,370, but it isn't just IT equipment, it's everything that came out of the rolling capital fund. So the description, where you've got analysis of expenditure,
Yeah.
you'll see what that 10,000 is made up of, and within that is the IT equipment.
Got you, so there's basically some of it's clumped together.
So everything from reserves is listed on this spreadsheet.
So basically, we've taken £40,000 out of reserve, earmarked reserves and used it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that saves a lot of work. Can I have a copy of last year?
Yes. Yes, you certainly can.
Thank you, that'd be very helpful from me, thank you.
So if there are no other questions on the council budget for last year, as I say, various items of fortuitous income on that one. We will move on to 4B, which is an update really on the Jubilee Tableau project, which is in the Frank Hutchins hall. So it is this sheet here, which is headed Sundry Debtor Legacy Tableau. Just really to note that there is still a deficit on this one of 2,444. Merely to note, I know this has Councillor Brooks's attention in terms of the potential income streams that he was looking at as part of the business project, business plan when the legacy project was first mooted. Councillor Brooks unfortunately went off to run West Berkshire Council and has been slightly busy, so this will undoubtedly have his attention at some point in time, but it's now being noted from us that figure still exists. We touched on reserves, which is C. Sorry, were there any questions on that before we move on? We touched on 4C just a moment ago, the reserves and the SIL funds. I don't intend to go through this in huge detail. Basically, earmark reserves again for those councillors who aren't aware of them, where we know there is expenditure coming up. And I guess a prime example of that is the flood alleviation works, where this council committed to pay £30,000 for the flood alleviation works that have been happening around the town. Rather than some of these things just appear boom in one year's budget with the consequent financial disruption that might cause if several of them came out of 1 year, and you might find yourself with an enormous great loss. One tend to put money away, put money aside to cover known expenditures. There is also one new one in there, which is 349, which is earmark reserve for the baby memorial garden, which we will come to a bit later on. But that was basically money that was raised and paid over to us to complete the baby memorial garden. But we'll come to that in a moment, because there is a separate item on the agenda for that. The other one that's new there is 323, which is the asset renewal fund. We have, as a council, made the decision that some of the larger expenditures, which will require substantial commitment, we will start putting money away into that. Amounts to be determined on the council strategy day, but that's to cover things like the skate park, for example, will not last forever. And when we renew that, that is going to be easily into 6 figures and possibly a multiple of six figures as well. The cemetery, for example, we also know is, as we've seen from the income, sadly filling up. And we will require more cemetery land. So that type of thing we would be looking to put money away again, so that it doesn't all come out of 1 year's budget in one hit. The ones down the bottom, which are the earmark reserves, SIL 355, 356, 7, 8 and 9. This is developer contribution money. So when there is any development, and the lower way development being the one that is current, that will generate SIL money. We get a proportion of the overall community infrastructure levy money from West Berkshire, for essentially to mitigate the effects of the development. There's also some small amounts which come from extensions to houses and things like that. Again, that very much made the headline with West Berkshire and some unfortunate people who didn't tick a box, piece of a box correctly. That I understand has now been adjusted.
Will be adjusted, so.
It will be adjusted.
16 onwards or something, isn't it?
So we will be receiving, in fact, we have received, by the looks of it, 22,000? No, it can't be right.
I'll come into the next financial year. That was for 2021, the 22,000.
Right. Well, that was received in the year, but for 2021, sorry, Mary.
I just wanted to make the point or remind people that how it works is if the SIL money that we receive isn't spent within 6 years, then we're due to return it to West Berkshire Council.
Yes. So you'll see that the SIL money, the last, or the earliest SIL money that we had was 2019. That is now at nil. So when we take money from SIL, we basically take the oldest one first.
Yes, can you just tell me, is there any restriction on what we're spending upon?
Yes. Broadly speaking, capital items. You can't, again, broadly speaking, you can't spend it on replacements. So if we were to replace a like for like, and Madam Clerk will tell me if I'm wrong, which I probably am. But if you've got one of those rocking horsey things, and that breaks, you can't use SIL money to replace that. If you were, however, putting in new equipment, and it's a bit of there's bits of grey areas, and occasionally Madam Clerk has to phone up and try and persuade West Berkshire SIL officer that we can use it on various things, then we can use it. So the what's the latest example of substantial use of SIL money?
We haven't had a great deal, have we?
No, we haven't had a lot.
New equipment and term fees for.
Yes, I think some of the
Yes.
Accessible play.
some of the accessible play equipment, I think that came from
Yeah.
SIL money. But we've used it for things like the Broadway Green gates, the ones down the southern end of the Broadway. The accessible play equipment, 17 from there. Jubilee Garden, etc.
It seems peculiar, doesn't it? Because the whole point of SIL money is to compensate this community or the fact that it's had development put into it with more people, more residents, more services needed. So I'm very surprised there's any restriction, to be honest. It needs to be spent where it's needed.
That's how it works. Don't say it's fair, don't say it's right, it's just the way things are. Tom?
Yeah, just to clarify on that line you were saying, 359, so 2021. So that money was allocated in 2021 and then it came into us this year, is that?
I believe, if I'm right in saying actually, that all of these SIL accounts had to be rejigged because we didn't actually have enough account codes. So this is that 20 odd thousand, I believe, is just an accounting adjustment to show that, to get the totals right, when I had to rejig all the accounts. But you can see from, I can send out a SIL statement, if you like, to show you.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify from my own peace of mind is that, so it's 20, so it has to be spent from 2021
Oh,
onwards.
yes.
That's, so
Yes.
the timeline is,
Yes,
we're halfway through that.
yes, yes, absolutely.
So that's what,
I think the key thing for me is we have £24,000 there that is available for spending on behalf of our residents from contributions. Obviously, if something ever happens with Thatcham North East, Lord forbid, that amount would be substantial.
Chairman, and just so that I understand, looking at 355 and 356, so is this all the money that we get for each of those years is shown here? So we're not expecting any money to be coming from the SIL for 23 to 24, is that correct?
I think we are expecting money for 23 to 24, but it won't come in until 24, 25 in that financial year.
But for 22, 23, we received 349.
Yes.
That was it.
Yes,
No more to come.
no,
That would have been a small extension to a property. The slightly more substantial sums we will get will be from Lower Way, where I think we will be getting something like £12,000 for the next 2, possibly 3 years from that.
do we have that information already? What we know is coming down the pipeline, because
We have been told, because Councillor Cottingham very kindly found out for us, with his West Berkshire hat on.
officially,
We don't, do we know officially now?
no,
No.
don't know officially,
So-
although we know.
Unofficially, we know we're getting about
So
12,000.
I understand the unofficial and the official. And when would you know officially? Because if we're setting our budgets up 2 or 3 years ahead, is like we're trying to do it, so we don't constantly have to dip into various pots of money.
I'm trying to think when we found out last time, it might have been about June, July, do you think? Or-
The-
annually.
Yeah,
Yeah, is it annual as in January?
yeah, we get the SIL money in April and October, I believe. Although this year must have been slightly later, because we are expecting the SIL money from Lower Way. You always know roughly because you know what development there has been.
Yeah.
So the Tollway development, for example, we had about £90,000 spread over 3 years on that one. The only problem is you can't say that is a 4-bedroom house and we will get that amount of SIL money, because it's the developer negotiating with West Berkshire on how much SIL money that they will get. We have had occasions, development up Crookham Hill, for example, where the developer didn't pay any SIL money at all because they managed to negotiate that with West Berkshire. So
For them.
so you can't really totally predict what you're going to get, but we know we're going to get some from Lower Way, and after that, probably not a huge amount. Oh,
If that kind of section 106 as I thought section 106 had ended and had been in a working party looking at health inequalities. And definitely section 106 money still exists and is apparently coming in. So it must still, section 106 in some strange form or other has a separate life from civil. I'm glad to see our clerk nodding because I am literally bemused because I was always told to me that section 106 had ended, and as the money sort of run out that came from 106, it was all being replaced by civil. But that is not actually the whole story, is it?
SIL replaced the majority of the old section 106 agreements, but there is still a need for section 106 in certain circumstances. We wouldn't get 106 money now, though ours is just SIL.
Oh, so as a town council, we will not receive 106 money regardless.
No.
So that's just something between West Berks and the developers.
Yeah.
If I would find out, understand whether
If somebody got planning permission with still, then 106 money was still there in phase one, was up and running, then they shut it down for 5 or 6 years. There wouldn't be a new sale agreement, you'd be running off the 106 stuff effectively. Transitional issues, I think.
Before, should I help that?
yes, yes.
We get money. Right, if there's no other questions on the reserves and SIL, stroke 106. This next item is the London Road Cemetery Baby Memorial. Madam Clerk, can you give us the background into this? This did come in front of Grant's subcommittee, but if you can give us a background, including what the 16,000 in earmark reserves is actually for and where it came from, we would be grateful.
Laura has provided a report in your packs. To summarise, it was a project that was started a few years ago by a local resident who sadly had lost 2 babies, but they were buried elsewhere. She had since moved, and she wanted somewhere to go locally where she could just sit and remember them. So she started fundraising for this project. Council agreed to the project being installed at London Road Cemetery. And various things happened and the fundraising stopped, and another group picked it up, the West Berkshire Sands, but they ceased as well. So the money that had been raised to date was transferred to the National Sands charity, and there it sat unbeknown to us until another resident contacted us and said, what happened to the project? What happened to the money that was raised? We did some investigation work and discovered that the money had been plans, and we are doing our best to fulfil the project that was started by the community several years ago. So the 13,000 something that was raised has been 13, just short of 13,500, has been transferred from Sands to us. We have an application on the Good Exchange to raise the difference. The whole project is around about 30,000. So we still got 16,708. No, we've raised 16,708 and 13,617 to raise to fulfil the project.
When this came before Grant's subcommittee, Grant's subcommittee held back £7,000 of the total grants pot of 17,000. So it didn't distribute the 7,000. The request from Grant subcommittee was the clerk talk to Greenham Trust, because we have an arrangement with Greenham Trust whereby they will match fund us up to 17,000. So we were hoping that Greenham Trust would double match fund, our 7,000 to bring us up to the 14,000 mark. However, I will hand back to the clerk because we've heard from Green Trust.
Yes, because the application is in our name, we can't receive match funding by funding our own application.
The funding that's in.
Yes, yeah.
Now, I understand that there is money still coming in. I'm also conscious that the majority of the council finances is going to be reviewed at strategy day that the council will be having next month. Therefore, whilst I have absolutely no doubt that council will look very, very sympathetically on this one, it is higher than the amount that we had allocated to it. So I think it appropriate to defer until after the strategy day, but it will very firmly be put on the agenda. I will ask the incoming group chair to make sure it is on the agenda. So just for the moment, I would suggest we defer this item until after that, for it either to come to full council or to FMGP, depending which is appropriate.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Just ask one point of clarification. Assuming members say absolutely and how we meet them. Timescales, implementation.
It could start fairly swiftly. Contractors are lined up, and we've also got Revar supplying materials as well. So everything is lined up, ready to go fairly swiftly once the funding is raised.
That could be within a month, fairly swiftly, or within 2 months.
Certainly within 2, I would say, yes.
Within 2 months, so that would bring us to what would be the next available meeting that it would go to RNA?
Yes, once the money is raised.
Assuming.
Yes, then it can go to RNA, yes. Yeah.
RNA, and that would be June? Would be the earliest?
Yes.
I can't remember the diary dates off the top of my head, that's why I was. Okay, so just so that members are aware, then if we do. And that's the earliest time date possible. That's good. That's perfect. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, Jane.
Just reading through the bottom of this, with regards to the Green and Trust, the bid exchange will don't accept donations up to £5,000 from the match fund up to 5,000, and we have a donation of 3, so that leaves 1,000 potential that could still be match funded.
Yeah.
So if we were able to obtain any kind of £2,000 grant funding, that would be doubled then to 4 by the bid exchange.
That's correct, yes.
So that would then reduce the amount to almost where we want it to be. Yeah. Is there any potential for that 2,000 to be?
We try really hard. We've got social media going out regularly, and we're emailing funeral directors, stonemasons. So we are trying. We thought the project would be picked up by the funeral directors, but we haven't had the response that we thought we would get from them.
So can we make a decision, go and match fund it and then get back to us? Is that really what you're saying?
No, I was just thinking that there's still £2,000. If we could find a donation or raise it in some way, £2,000 that we could then get match funded, that's 1,000.
Yeah. Mary?
We have an offer from Green and Common Trust of match funding up to £5,000, but my understanding of that is that they will only match donations from the public, and they will not match donations from funders.
Yeah.
So although we have an offer of £5,000, unless we receive donations from the public of £5,000, we won't get any match funding.
Yeah.
We will defer that item unless anyone has any strong objections to next available meeting. The next item is somewhat high-powered support to this coming from the mayor and the deputy mayor. Which one takes cognizance of. Mr. Mayor or Madam Clerk, have we got a paper? Oh, we've got a paper on that one with the
You have got.
for publication. Therefore, I guess we need to
Got the survey there.
or just what we say, but the concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's a piece of research that's been going on for some time now, and there've been a number of follow-on meetings between Berkshire Music Trust, shows as well, and the events manager and some funding enthusiasts to get this off the ground. Essentially, it's in response to the survey, and it's an attempt to focus on a number of different music projects supported by the trust, really taking young people away from the school environment and focusing on the types of musical activity that they've expressed an interest in pursuing. Things like open mic nights and I think Sound Bowl is one of the projects. And the idea is to base these in different venues around the town outside of school hours and really to engage young people who might otherwise not be involved in musical activities. So yeah, I mean, we have the figure of 2.5 there. There are some issues about match funding and clearly we have some restrictions on which bits we can match. The Music Trust seems to have different restrictions, but has other sources of funding. And but I think the scale and ambition of this project, I think that to me, and it seems a reasonable amount.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Owen?
Mr. Chairman, I wonder, could we go into part 2 for this? Because I think it's going to be a very strange debate and discussion. Otherwise, I know I thought if we go into part 2, we stop broadcasting to the public for a few minutes while we deal with it. I would have thought that would be a more useful way than trying to talk about 20-30 page report without actually referring to the real details in there.
Chairman, just to clarify, it's the only reason that the report is not for publication because it's information that the events manager wants to keep internally at the moment. He doesn't want other organisations being able to access this data, but the actual conversation isn't confidential.
So the conversation about the principle of whether we wish to allocate 2,500 to this is not confidential.
Correct, but the
actual
data we want to
data
hold
that
on
could be
to.
used by other people to
Correct.
do whatever
Correct.
is right. Okay, I'll take Justin and then I'll take a proposal from the mayor.
I was going to say, I have seen this report. I've seen an iteration of this report previously at the Youth Working Party. And I think you're right, Madam Clerk. I don't think we need to kind of drill into the numbers here. You know, talking about costs to run the scheme versus a potential grant that the town council would be looking to offer. Since the elections last May, the all-out elections last May, I think the Youth Working Party has only met once. As deliberate, we haven't really had a chance to kind of have further conversations offline. The general consensus from that one meeting, obviously off the back of the attached youth contract coming to an end, is actually there's quite a pot of money to spend and we don't have any idea how to spend it. So in the grand scheme of things, £2,500 to get quite a innovative music scheme off the ground, I think is something that the council should be getting full square behind, if I'm honest with you. I'm obviously willing to listen to other opinions because I'm not a musician. From what I know about it and what we discussed previously, it's a really, really good scheme. I'm a foster carer myself, and you know, my eldest plays the piano. It's an outlet for him, and he really enjoys it. He does it in school. I know this is slightly different, but I don't think it's not something we should underestimate in terms of the benefits that it can provide. So that's too painful.
So I'll take Owen, then Mr. Mayor.
For absolute completeness, I am the West Berkshire Council representative to the board, not on the board of Berkshire Young Musicians Trust, which is a very nice way of being able to go to all their concerts and listen to the Thatcham children singing, etc., etc., etc. So I just say that obviously for the record. Beyond that, yes, I think my words will probably not be dissimilar to the words of Justin's, but I'm sure this would be of great potential benefit. And I'll be very supportive of the town council getting behind it, but I don't want to be saying something that sounds as if it's just that because I happen to be the West Berkshire Council representative to, but not a trustee of Berkshire Young Musicians Trust, but I'm not fettering my discretion or whatever.
Thank you. So that was a declaration of interest, really.
It was sort of
Just clarifying. Mr. Mayor, I think I can go to a proposal.
Okay, thank you. And just to add to that, there are the overall project and what was proposed by the trust potentially amounted to considerably more than the 2.5 here. And I think what we tried to do is be prudent to try out the first step and to essentially to see how it goes. So on that basis, I would propose the 2,500 as core funding.
And do I see a seconder? Thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. Carried. Item 4F has been discussed, I think anyway, in previous meetings. Looking to allocate 5,000. Apologies. The other item on the young people music project was where it should be funded from. I take it, Justin, you got from what you said, taking it from the youth project would seem to be eminently sensible. So we'll do that as well. The speed indicator device, speed monitoring device, has been discussed previously. Therefore, I would propose that this be adopted from the chair if that finds a second. Thank you. Any comments before we go to vote? No. Those in favour then, please. Thank you. Again, unanimous. 4G, any year-end environments. The majority of these, I feel, should wait for the strategy day. For example, if there is a struggle to allocate money to, for the youth projects, then putting more money into that wouldn't seem sensible until we have the strategy day. This is the proposed year-end environments that the officers have come up with. The majority of these, or certainly the chunky ones of these, I would suggest would be deferred until the strategy day. For example, the underspent and memorial garden, number 1. The allocation youth party, number 2. I would suggest now we went that there are some here which have already been agreed and some which are fairly small, and I'm aware that the year-end adjustments, etc., need to be done fairly rapidly after the strategy day. Therefore, I might suggest that the next few items, the 400, the 590, the 1000, the 480, and the uncompleted picnic tables and benches, which has already been agreed by council. I would suggest that those adjustments are made, and then the other adjustments here, the Century Garden, the top up of the rolling capital fund, St Mary's Church wall, which we are fully aware is going to cost us a considerable amount of money, that those be deferred and brought back after the strategy day.
Chairman, if I may, the sensory garden, that needs to go into an earmark reserve. It's money that we've received for that project. So
Oh, right.
this is just to agree to move that into its earmark reserve so it can be used in.
Okay. Therefore, I mean, basically the amounts unagreed there are relatively modest. Any comment? I'd certainly propose that from the chair, but any comments before I seek a seconder to that? Okay, does that find a seconder? Thank you. Those in favour? Okay, so those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items, and the remainder deferred. Additional IT infrastructure to support the increased staffing, which we knew was coming, because we got increased staff who, I guess, simplistically for our laptops, Madam Clerk.
Indeed, yes, Chairman.
Is there anything else to add to that? Probably not.
No.
Therefore, it's a factor that we knew was coming. Again, therefore, to speed matters along, I would propose that from the chair. If that finds a seconder, thank you, Owen. Any comments? Any?
Just a question.
Yeah.
For members, I suppose for members of the public and for members, the IT equipment that we've purchased, I take it is being well used. It's not just sat on a shelf somewhere in case of an emergency. And does that mean that if it's been well used, then it's been well used at home?
They're being used here.
They're being used
As-
here
as-
rather than the actual computer.
They replaced redundant desktops with laptops that can be used here and also for working at home.
It's coming back.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's been seconded. Those in favour? Thank you. We now move on to the minutes of the grant subcommittee. I would propose these as chairman, if that finds a seconder. Thank you, Owen. If there's no comments or questions, not seeing any, those in favour of adoption then please. Thank you. We have an application under the Community Projects Fund, again for the benefit of members. Community Projects Fund is again grants that the council give, but smaller ones up to the £250 mark. So this is aside from the match funding that Green and Common Trust give, but it's for smaller amounts. Purchase of gazebos for scouts we've done in the past, etc. This current proposal seems to be to reinvent, if you like, the Bowls Club, which is on Memorial Foundation land, fairly well tucked away behind high hedges, because no one really wants to anyone to be able to see in and do anything nefarious. This certainly seems to fit our criteria that we would seek to support local charities and sports organisations. Owen?
Chairman, I very much support what you're saying, and if yours is a proposal to move ahead, I'll second, and if it isn't, then I will propose it. One of the problems with the bowling club, it is a very fine bowling club. They've got a very nice green, and it's been a very successful club for many years, and it's also won many competitions locally over the years. But probably one of the problems it's had is or has been attracting new members, and particularly young members, and to put £250 in towards trying to do just that, I think would be an excellent and entirely reasonable expenditure of public money to help them in that goal of getting new members, particularly younger members in.
I would be delighted to take that as a proposal, which I would be delighted to second. Any comments, questions, queries? Justin?
I just want to drill down into the project costs. So we're presumably being asked to fund a proportion of this. Do we know where the 250 came from? Was that something proposed by the bowling club, or something that falls within a particular threshold for us to be able to use a particular scheme, or?
Our own internal threshold is 250.
Oh.
So it's an internal one, if you like. Right, so that's been proposed, seconded. If there's no other queries, those in favour then, please. Thank you. That's unanimous again. Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service consultation. Councillor Jeffrey.
Mr. Chairman, very shortly after we came to item 3, wasn't on the agenda, declarations of interest, I thought, oh, hang on, the automatic fire alarm is in there, and I ought to be declaring that as interest. This I do definitely declare as an interest. I have to pretty being a member of the Royal Berkshire Fire Authority, and I'm happy to speak to this or make any comments, try to answer any questions, but I think it would be inappropriate for me to vote on whether the town council supports the proposal or opposes it, because it's then going to come back to me and a number of others as members of the authority to actually go ahead or not go ahead.
Right, declaration of interest noted. Thank you. Sorry, I'll bring you in 2 seconds, Stephanie. This matter was referred to full council, and comments were invited to come to the clerk in advance of this meeting, so that we didn't formulate this on the hoof. Have we had any comments, Madam Clerk? Right, okay, so the opportunity for consultation on this is, well, or I say what, Stephanie?
I remember receiving information and I've read it. Are we responding as a council with one opinion?
We would respond as a council. If individual councillors have individual opinions, they may respond individually. I would take it that as we have had no responses from any members, then committee is asked if it wishes to respond to the consultation. In light of the fact that there hasn't been any comments, I would suggest that committee does not wish to respond to the consultation, unless anyone has a contrary view to that.
Well, I think we should, shouldn't we?
The problem is, Stephanie, we will take then 3 hours.
I know, discussing
The whole idea of it going to full council and then being deferred to this committee was this committee would then collate, or rather the clerk would collate it beforehand, a response from this committee. I would suggest that that horse is bolted, I would suggest. Unless anyone has any contrary view, and right, okay. I would then say that this committee does not wish to
Just notice it.
yeah. Thank you. Citizens Advice West Berkshire, we have obviously had the presentation from the local director. I think there was some comment, obviously, that was the SLA was not being fulfilled. I would propose from the chair that I know certain people are interested in it. Justin has had dealings with the CAB before. Tom as vice chair and leader designate, and myself as chair of this committee. I think it appropriate for us to have a discussion with the CAB. And I would also suggest, if that finds favour, that the officer involvement would be our new community engagement officer, who is Emily. Any comments, thoughts, other volunteers for discussions with them, people who don't want to have that discussion with them? I'm seeing, Owen.
Chairman, I very strongly feel that the council should enter into a new agreement. And I would have thought that having a group of 2, 3, whatever councillors doing the negotiation, coming up with the terms, and then bringing them back to this committee,
yes,
would be the right way to move forward. If other members of the committee believe that that is the right thing to be trying to do. I think the service that is provided by Citizens Advice, I have used it myself on one occasion, and obviously it deals with issues that can sometimes be gut-wrenchingly, heart-wrenchingly sad and difficult for individuals, and it tries to provide effective, meaningful, correctly, legally correct information to people that maybe are in sometimes very, very difficult and unpleasant situations.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees that what they do is extremely good, of high quality, and our only concern was about that we do it in an appropriate manner. And I think that was our concern. So if any members of the public think we're withdrawing funding, no, we're just trying to find an appropriate mechanism that can deliver the sort of service that we're looking for, while not tying the hands of CAB at the same time. That's more of the process, just to make sure that members are really sure.
Yeah, thank you. Justin.
Yeah, I think Councillor McCann's absolutely right. This is absolutely an organisation that we should be supporting. Not just for the obvious reasons, but the huge amount of work that they do, not just within the community, but pumping out lots and lots of useful information organically, and also through their website as well. So really, really good content on their website, and lots of practical support and tips as well. I know in the past we've had issues with their ability to provide some of the outreach work, and we know that there are reasons for that. CAB is notoriously underfunded, and so a lot of very little. I think when those conversations take place, it's like Councillor McCann says, providing them with the funding. But they've probably got a better understanding of how to do that. So there's quite a huge piece of work to be done. And we think we should go there. It's saying something, it's a partnership that it's continuing to suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with everything that's been said. I would propose then that we have discussion with the CAB, clerked by our new community engagement officer, and councillors to be Justin, Tom and myself. If that finds a second, thank you. Any comments before we take a vote? Those in favour then, please. Yes, thank you. Review of financial regulations. Again, a formal working party suggested on this. It's obviously we've had the draft from the clerk and the finance manager, for which thank you. I happen to know that Councillor Nottingham, this was very much his professional métier, they say. And therefore it'd be very useful to have him on the working party. Again, I would suggest myself as chair. And I don't know if the vice chair would and would also wish to be involved. I'm getting a nod from that end. So I would suggest from the chair that the working party members be councillors Tottenham, McCann and Bowling. Unless anyone has any views. And then both me and Mel obviously from the officer contribution to that working party. I would therefore make that proposal if that comes a second. Thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. Right, here's the home stretch. We have witching hour. Now we've got 4 minutes before the witching hour. Well, through this one in 4 minutes. Tax payments due from current account, mercifully few. So 11 number 1, proposed list of payments entered. Does anyone have any questions, queries on this? Councillor Jeffrey.
I'm so sorry, but RJC and the roofing contractor, which was the roof on which they stripped on the mess to clean that up? With this very council chamber.
That was actually the chapel at the cemetery.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Are there any other queries? Right, I would propose from the chair that these be approved. And if that finds a seconder, thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. Yeah.
That's fine, Scout, and what it gets, we've got 2.5 minutes. Yes. Yes, companies, you know,
very good, very good. I mean, I'm not going to get this done in 2.5 minutes flat. Therefore, what's the full word from Clark?
To agree to continue beyond 9 PM.
Right, therefore I would propose that we, thank you, those in favour, thank you. Okay, that gives me until 9:05 to finish it. To note payments, pre-authorised payments on Soldo, which is 11.2. Which is basically the payments from the impressed account, or the Soldo prepayment card, and the Clark's impressed account for smaller repairs, etc. Again, any questions, please, on that? Justin.
payment to the state park there, information about this. 2,900.
I believe was the riding surfaces. Most of the skate park is of wooden construction, so it does need quite regular maintenance, and it is quite costly, unfortunately.
We actually had 3 vans there. They were doing the work, but I potted it up and down in one day when I went to, and they took the entire day with 3 vans, so it probably was a really tricky piece of work. If there are no other questions, I would propose they be noted. I don't think we need to take a vote on noting. Payments made from the current account. These are ones, so 11.3 is ones which were approved by the clerk under delegated authority. Any questions on any of items 11.3.
Just can't stop myself smiling about an item on 11.2, which is Friends of Thatcham Library, a lawnmower and dyslexia friendly books. You get a lawnmower and then you get a dyslexia friendly book.
No, that one, I wish I could come up with some clever comment that would link the two, but I can't. Any other queries on 11.3? No, I would therefore say that we will note those. Pension reconciliation report. This is going to form part of the discussion we'll have in the working party about the financial regulations, because this has always only ever been, where our money is. It's one of those particular things that the bank reconciliation is actually more than that, but I'll leave him to explain why when we get into the working party. Because there's going to be a balance between what is possible and what is ultimately totally desirable. So I think there's going to be a compromise between there, because otherwise we're going to be looking at every transaction that gets through the bank account, which we do in a different way. But if it's okay with members, we'll leave that to be thrashed out in the working party when at least they have someone there in Ian Gottingham who knows what the hell they're talking about. For the your comments, sir, not mine. So for the moment, can I propose that we note the bank reconciliation purely as is? Again, for new members, a chunk of the money is on fixed term deposits, being the other cash and bank balances. A chunk is in the ordinary reserve account, and we do try to move as much as we possibly can just after we've had the precept, which have we had the precept yet?
We've had the remittance to say it's coming.
Right.
If you've paid your council tax. Yes.
If we do try and move as much of that into the CCLA, and I forget what CCLA stands for, but the last two words are local authorities. It's basically a fund that's set up for local authorities, and it pays a higher rate of interest than the reserve account. So we are, I would imagine, looking to shift some money into that account.
We certainly are. I'm just waiting for final confirmation that they've processed our mandate application from 2 months ago.
Yes.
Some things just on sleep.
Don't you just love banks? So we'll take the noting of the bank reconciliation as is for the purposes it has previously been applied to, but that begins. Aged creditor report, item 5, basically how quickly we pay our money to those who we owe money to. Stage bus is the longest outstanding one. I believe that's a deposit from memory.
They send one invoice and we pay 50% deposit, and then we don't pay the remainder, which is this 2,600, is not due until the event has gone ahead. So that will be for Christmas lights and the fun day.
Thank you. The other ones need to be fairly well up to date. So again, I think that's just a review.
Who are heads?
They are the people who do the play equipment inspections on park. Hogs. Yes. You say potato, I say potato. And the last item on the agenda is not for publication because it is the people who owe us money. Split into various sections. So please, when we are referring to an item on this, if we can refer to the account code, which is on the far left of each rather than the name of the individual or organisation. The one that sticks out obviously is T177.
That is a payment that I need to raise once the T177's mandate has been approved by the CCMA.
Thank you. What's the acronym there?
I think the key one is that one's actually under our control.
Yes.
And therefore it's
Well, the mandate isn't, but.
oh, no, they changed the mandate now. Bring back local bank managers, that's what I say.
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes, can I just ask why S for Stephen 063 has got some outstanding money for some time?
I think what happens is that this is an invoice raised on the cemeteries. And so sometimes these we raise the invoice as soon as there's a request, but they don't always go ahead.
Okay.
So I think that needs to go back to the clerk in question and find out if actually that is still due. There is a likelihood that it isn't.
Can you check that?
Yes, of course.
Is that like a request for work and therefore it costs whatever?
Yeah.
And then it should come back and say, no, actually it was all sorted. Is that what you're sort of inferring?
Yes. The finance officer goes through this list and sends details to each of the officers on a monthly basis so that they can review these things. So I'll highlight to her that that needs to be resolved as soon as possible.
And the other one that sticks out slightly is another cemetery one, I believe, which is C071 on the first page.
Yes, I think they are notoriously bad payers, actually.
Really?
What did you say? Yeah, it's notoriously bad payers. But again, I shall raise that to the.
I think that's one element of a larger organisation.
Yes,
say.
yes.
Right, if there are no further questions on aged debtor report, meeting closed with profuse apologies, 7 minutes past.